Have you noticed subtle but concerning changes in someone you love over the past year? Many Americans believe that death and old age happens suddenly one day, everything seems fine, and the next, they're gone. But in reality, the human body often begins sending quiet, almost invisible warnings long before the end comes. These signals can appear anywhere from several months to a full year before a person passes away. The tragedy is that these signs are frequently overlooked. They seem minor at first: a smaller appetite, a slower walk, a foggy memory. Families often dismiss them as simply getting older. But when they look back after losing someone, they realize those signs were there all along. And by then it's too late to prepare, too late to have those important conversations, too late to say the things that needed to be said. In this video, we're going to walk you through 6 significant signs that can appear roughly a year before an elderly person passes away. Some of these may be things you've already noticed but brushed aside. Others may seem completely ordinary at first glance, but together they paint a picture of a body that is slowly, quietly winding down. Recognizing these signs early gives you something incredibly valuable: time. Time to provide better care, time to make meaningful memories, time to ensure that your loved one spends their final chapter with dignity, comfort, and peace, surrounded by the people who matter most to them. Understanding these 6 signs will help you prepare not just practically, but emotionally and spiritually. If you don't want to be caught off guard when that moment arrives, keep watching, because for some of you, that time may already be beginning. Sign number 1, unexplained insignificant weight loss. One of the earliest and most telling signs that an elderly person may be entering the last year of their life is unexpected weight loss. At first, it might not be obvious. Maybe their favorite jeans are looser than usual. Maybe they're leaving food on their plate more often. Maybe they've stopped asking for seconds at Sunday dinner. These small changes are easy to dismiss. After all, appetite naturally changes as we age, right? But here's the truth. When an older adult loses weight without trying, it's rarely just about appetite. It usually means the body is losing its ability to absorb and process nutrients efficiently. Muscle mass decreases. The digestive system slows. Metabolism shifts in ways that can no longer sustain the body the way it once did. Yes, some degree of muscle loss is a normal part of aging, but when it happens rapidly and consistently, it signals something deeper is happening beneath the surface. The body may no longer be breaking down protein efficiently, or it may simply lack the energy reserves needed to rebuild muscle tissue. This leads to physical weakness, a higher risk of falls, a compromised immune system, and increased vulnerability to infections. Loss of appetite during this period goes beyond just not feeling hungry. Many elderly individuals find that food no longer tastes the way it used to. Meals get skipped, portions shrink. In some cases, the body has actually begun to reduce the signals it sends to the brain telling it to eat. As a result, the person operates on less and less energy, feeling tired more easily, moving less, and gradually declining in overall health. Underlying medical conditions often play a role here as well. Unexplained weight loss can be one of the first outward signs of serious illnesses such as cancer, congestive heart failure, or kidney disease conditions that may be progressing silently before any dramatic symptoms appear. Depression, loneliness, and cognitive decline can also suppress appetite significantly, depriving the body of the fuel it desperately needs. Many American families respond to this by encouraging their loved ones to eat more, adding protein shakes to meals, or preparing their favorite comfort foods. These gestures come from a place of deep love, and they matter. But if weight continues to drop despite these efforts, it's important to understand that this may no longer be something that can be reversed through nutrition alone. The body may be in the early stages of an irreversible transition. At that point, the focus should gently shift toward comfort, offering small, easily digestible meals, keeping them hydrated, not forcing food, but making mealtimes warm and enjoyable. These acts of care carry more weight than any number of calories. If you've noticed significant weight loss, increasing weakness, or a shrinking appetite in an elderly parent or grandparent, don't dismiss it as simply getting old. The body is communicating something important, and understanding that message early gives you the chance to respond with both your head and your heart to make the time that remains as meaningful, as peaceful, and as full of love as possible. Sign number 2, deep, persistent fatigue and physical weakness. One of the most visible and heartbreaking changes in someone entering the final year of life is an overwhelming, unrelenting fatigue, the kind that no amount of sleep seems to fix. This isn't the tiredness you feel after a long day at work or a busy weekend. This is something far more profound. Simple tasks that were once second nature begin to feel monumental. Getting out of bed in the morning takes tremendous effort. Walking to the bathroom becomes an expedition. Preparing a simple meal, getting dressed, or even holding a conversation can leave a person completely drained. For someone who may have once been active gardening in their backyard, walking around the neighborhood, playing with grandchildren, this shift can feel devastating. What's happening physically is significant. The heart becomes less efficient at pumping blood, circulation slows, muscles don't receive adequate oxygen. The body, sensing that its energy reserves are limited, begins redirecting what little it has toward keeping the most essential organs functioning. Everything else, movement, digestion, social engagement, gets less and less priority. Sleep patterns change dramatically during this time. The person may sleep far more than usual, napping throughout the day, struggling to stay awake during conversations or while watching television. Some days they may seem relatively alert and energetic, but these windows of clarity are typically brief, followed quickly by an even deeper exhaustion. What often goes unspoken is the emotional dimension of this fatigue. Many older Americans take tremendous pride in their independence, in being able to take care of themselves, contribute to family life, and remain active members of their communities. When that independence begins to slip away, the emotional toll can be severe. Shame, frustration, and grief over the loss of one's former self are incredibly common. As a result, the person may begin withdrawing, turning down invitations, avoiding social gatherings, giving up hobbies they once loved. This withdrawal is not laziness or giving up. It is the natural response of a person who is carefully managing a dwindling supply of energy. Pushing them to do more, to stay active, to fight through it, often does more harm than good. What they need most during this time is understanding someone who respects their limits and doesn't make them feel guilty for having them. If someone you love is experiencing this kind of deep, persistent fatigue, resist the urge to try to fix it. Instead, sit with them, talk quietly, hold their hand, make their environment as comfortable as possible. Because what matters most at this stage is not how much they can do, it's how loved, seen, and safe they feel in every moment they have left. Sign number 3, mental fog, confusion, and emotional withdrawal. Perhaps one of the most disorienting signs for families to witness is a gradual but unmistakable shift in a loved one's mental clarity. Someone who was once sharp, witty, and engaged with the world around them may begin to seem elsewhere. They lose track of conversations. They ask the same question 3 or 4 times within an hour. They forget the names of people they've known for decades. They may become confused about what day it is, what year it is, or even where they are. And here's what's important to understand. This can happen even in people who have never shown any signs of dementia or cognitive decline before. It isn't necessarily Alzheimer's or any other diagnosable condition. It is often simply the brain responding to the body's overall slowdown. The brain, like every other organ, requires a steady supply of oxygen and nutrients carried through the bloodstream. As circulation slows and organ function decreases, the brain receives less of what it needs to function at full capacity. Decision-making becomes harder, processing speed slows. Familiar faces may suddenly seem unfamiliar. Even simple tasks that once required no thought at all can now feel confusing or overwhelming. What makes this particularly complex is that the decline is rarely linear. There will be moments of surprising clarity, a flash of the person you've always known, sharp and present and fully themselves. These moments are precious, and they're real, but they are often followed by a return to the fog. Families sometimes hold on to these good moments as signs that things are improving. Usually, they are not. Alongside cognitive changes, emotional withdrawal often deepens. The person may become quieter, less interested in conversation, less engaged with what's happening around them. They may sit in silence for long stretches of time. This can feel like rejection, like they're pulling away from you, but it isn't personal. The brain is simply processing the world differently now. Social interaction, which once came easily, now requires enormous effort. Even a busy household can feel overwhelming. Some elderly individuals become more irritable or emotionally volatile during this period. Others seem to become unusually calm, almost serene, as if they've quietly made peace with something the rest of us can't yet see. Both responses are normal. The most powerful thing you can do during this time is simply show up. Not with questions or tasks or attempts to jog their memory, but with presence, gentle touch, eye contact, a calm, familiar voice. These forms of connection often reach far deeper than words ever could, because even when the mind begins to quiet, the heart still feels everything. Sign number 4. Recurring infections and a slowing healing process. In the final year of life, the immune system, the body's frontline defense against illness, begins to break down in ways that become increasingly difficult to ignore. You may notice that someone who rarely got sick is now catching every cold that goes around. A minor cut that would have healed in a few days now lingers for weeks. Infections that would once have responded quickly to antibiotics now require longer courses of stronger medications and sometimes don't fully resolve even then. This is not coincidence. It is biology. The immune system, like every other system in the body, is gradually losing the capacity to do its job. Conditions that were once minor inconveniences, a urinary tract infection, a respiratory illness, a small skin wound, can now become serious medical events requiring hospitalization. Pneumonia is particularly common and dangerous during this period. So are urinary tract infections, which in elderly individuals often present not with the classic symptoms of burning or urgency, but with sudden confusion, behavioral changes, or extreme fatigue. This is one of the reasons families are sometimes caught off guard. They're looking for physical symptoms when the warning signs are actually cognitive. Wound healing slows dramatically as well. Poor circulation means that oxygen and nutrients aren't reaching damaged tissues efficiently. A simple bruise, a small pressure sore, a minor scrape, any of these can become serious if not carefully monitored and treated. For elderly individuals who are spending more time in bed or in a chair, pressure wounds are a particularly significant risk. Prevention and careful skin care become essential. What's often hardest for families is the cycle, the exhausting, heartbreaking loop of infection, treatment, brief recovery, and then another infection. Each hospitalization feels like a battle, and for a while they pull through. But eventually the pattern itself becomes the message. The body no longer has the reserves to fight back the way it once did. At some point, the conversation shifts, or it needs to. Not from hope to hopelessness, but from aggressive treatment to compassionate comfort care. Keeping them warm, keeping their skin clean and moisturized, managing pain, offering sips of water, holding their hand through the hard moments. Sometimes, these simple acts of human tenderness matter far more than any prescription ever could. Sign number 5. Changes in breathing and circulation. As the body moves into its final stages, some of the most significant and most visible changes involve breathing and circulation. These changes can be subtle at first, easy to explain away. But once you know what to look for, they become impossible to ignore. Breathing may become shallower. Instead of deep, steady breaths, you may notice shorter, quicker ones. There may be irregular pauses, moments where breathing seems to stop entirely for several seconds before resuming. In some cases, a pattern known as Shane-Stokes respiration develops, a cycle of gradually deepening breaths, followed by a period of no breathing at all. Then the cycle begins again. This pattern indicates that the brainstem's control over the respiratory system is beginning to falter. Circulatory changes are equally telling. The hands and feet may feel cold even in a warm room. The skin may appear pale or take on a grayish or bluish tint, particularly in the fingertips, toes, lips, or around the nose. This mottling, as it's sometimes called, is a sign that the heart is no longer pumping blood efficiently to the extremities. Instead, the body is prioritizing blood flow to the brain and vital organs, a last-ditch effort to keep the most essential systems going as long as possible. Even the smallest physical exertions can trigger breathlessness, turning over in bed, speaking a full sentence, coughing. Any of these can leave the person gasping, needing to pause and recover. Some individuals find that lying flat is uncomfortable and prefer to sleep propped up on several pillows or in a recliner. For families watching these changes unfold, the instinct is often to panic, to call 911, to rush to the emergency room, to do something, and sometimes that's appropriate. But often, these changes are simply the body's natural way of conserving its remaining energy. The focus in these moments should be on comfort, keeping the room cool and well ventilated, using a fan to move air gently, offering small sips of water or ice chips to keep the lips and mouth moist. What your loved one needs most in these moments is not intervention, it is presence, a calm voice, a gentle hand, the reassurance that they are not alone, that they are loved, and that it is okay to rest. Sign number 6, slowing speech, deep memory, and the soul's quiet retreat. Sometimes it starts with repetition. They tell you the same story they told you yesterday and the day before. They ask what you had for lunch. You answer, and 10 minutes later they ask again, genuinely curious, as if the conversation never happened. They can't remember what happened last Tuesday, but they can describe in vivid detail the summer of 1962, the smell of the backyard, the sound of the radio, the feeling of that first heartbreak. This is one of the quietest and most profound signs of all. The mind beginning its slow retreat from the present and toward the past. Speech may slow, words become harder to find, sentences trail off mid-thought, eyes drift upward as the person searches for a word that feels just out of reach. Conversations that once flowed easily now require patience, long pauses, gentle prompting, the willingness to sit in silence without feeling the need to fill it. Many American families struggle with this. It can feel like loss, like the person you've known your whole life is slowly becoming a stranger. Some family members become frustrated. Others become anxious, wondering if they're doing enough, saying the right things, making the most of the time that's left. But here is what's important to hold on to. What's happening is not simply a loss of memory. It is a shift in the way the mind experiences time. The past, which is rich with memory and emotion and identity, becomes more real than the present. Your loved one isn't retreating from you, they're retreating toward the people and moments and places that have meant the most to them across a lifetime. They are going home, in a sense, before they go home entirely. Your role in this phase is not to correct or redirect. It's not to remind them of today's date or gently point out that they've already told you that story. Your role is to be a companion in whatever world they're inhabiting right now. If they want to tell you about their childhood home in Ohio, Listen, really listen as if you're hearing it for the first time. Because for them, in this moment, it may feel that way. And when words fail altogether, when sentences no longer come and the room grows quiet, know that your presence still matters. Sit beside them, hold their hand, speak softly. The capacity to feel love, to sense warmth, safety, and belonging, often outlasts the capacity for language. The heart hears what the ears can no longer process. These moments, slow, quiet, tender, may be among the most profound of your life. Not because they are easy, but because they strip away everything unnecessary and leave only what has always mattered most: love, presence, and the willingness to simply be there. We want to thank you sincerely for spending this time with us today. If any part of this video resonated with you, if you recognize someone you love in these words, please share your thoughts in the comments below. Your experience might be exactly what someone else needs to hear right now. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new video. Every comment, every share, every subscription helps us reach more families who need this information. Thank you for being here. We'll see you in the next one.